Howdy, Maplers. My name is Carrington, and I am the self-appointed headmaster of the Frugal Maple Academy. As headmaster, it will be my duty to present a series of easy-to-understand, noob-friendly guides with the intent of helping all the new/returning Maplers that just don't have the mesos or simply don't have the direction to go. Now, this podcast will have a lot of jargon, or terms that are relevant to Maple. If these basic terms like potentials and familiars make no sense to you, then I suggest you seek a friendly guild because this podcast may very well go over your head. Sorry! On the flip of that, I am by no means a whale, and I will not be covering truly endgame material. I'm just not there yet, so no hands-on for me to speak about, but I'll let you know as I get there. Personally, in terms of Maple, I reside in Barra, and I'll suggest any server with the auction house. I rely on the auction house a lot for this guide. I don't really teach how to get the gear itself, so that's a good heads up. My main character's name is I Want Boss. I'm currently level 238 Dawn Warrior with a 1.2k Legion. Active member of the guild RSVP. Best guild ever. Second only to Kratos. Wonderful guild there. As a player, I have learned a lot from my guild leader, Acenar. Ace was a patient and loving teacher with me, teaching me his perspective and reasoning on why he got his gear, when he got his gear. A very amazing, wonderful guild. I always suggest any amazing guild where people actually care about helping each other. Find one, get in it, stay in it, help too. Anyway, members of my guild are often asking me what to do when they feel stuck like I used to. Well, this series is for people just like that. What I like to call the 200 noob. A 200 noob is a player that has pushed through the grind of level 1 through 199. Now, to do this takes a little patience, but not too much in the way of gearing up, which can be quite expensive. That's where this podcast will come into play. This very first episode is going to cover your mid-tier gear. Tiers of gear is simply early game, slap it on and off. You find something stronger, you put it on. You get a potential you like, you put it on. No real rhyme or reason to it. Start acquiring your boss accessories, but we're going to go over accessories another day. We're going over primary gear today. Maybe have some go-to training for the mid-tier phase. Mid-tier is what we're going to talk about now. Some people even make some pencilier sets, so that way you can actually have them tradable between characters. But we're going to be talking about your main, what to do and how to survive the mid-tier levels. So, without further ado, school is in session. Okay, first things first, what gear are we going to work on? Now, I won't be covering accessories or your emblem today and barely your weapon. That will be covered in a future episode, but some of the rules today can be carried over to accessories, so keep that in mind. First, you will want an arcane weapon, should you be able to afford one. This is typically your very first piece of endgame equipment, so we will not be covering this in depth. An Absolab weapon can be very good and can carry you quite a bit, but an arcane weapon is actually going to be your first endgame item suggested to you. Some people say get an arcane weapon and don't actually equip it. That way you can have cubing services because you're going to want to make that actually higher tier potentials, but I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Moving on from your weapon, we are going to want most of an Absolab set. Okay? Now, everything but the weapon and the overalls, really. The reason we don't take the overall is one simple reason. The Root Abyss set offers a top and a bottom. The big point of this is not even the sets, it's the fact that you're going to get one extra potential, one extra item with potentials. The real benefit is you're going to get one extra item with potentials and flames. Just better than having one, have two. So, speaking of flames and potentials, I don't want to get ahead of myself. To summarize, this is the gear you're going to be wanting and that we're going to be working on. Meaning we're going to make everything from scratch. Don't worry about buying anything fancy. We're going to remake all of it. You're going to want an Absolab helmet, Absolab shoes, Absolab gloves, an Absolab cape, and Absolab shoulders. You're also going to want a Root Abyss top and a Root Abyss bottom. Okay. Now that we have our gear, we need to make it worth a damn. There are three sides to this: Flames, Star Force, and Potential. So let's start with Flames. Flames are the green bonus stats that gear sometimes have. Flaming is to use Rebirth Flames on your gear until you end up with ideal stats. The cheapest method to getting Flames will be your Legion shop, so get that Legion going. Build it up. However, you can also use the auction house and events. There are many ways to get flames. Now, this is a very simple portion, so I'm going to say it slowly. You're looking for two main things from your flame stats. The first is your primary stat, strength, intelligence, dexterity, or luck. Okay, you're looking for a plus 60 or better. The other one will be your all stat percentage. You're looking for 5% or better. So primarily a plus 60 to your main stat, and then that 5% all stat. In a perfect world, you're also going to get a plus 5 to your attack or magic attack. You get all three of those, you've hit the jackpot. Leave that item alone. It's going to carry you so far. It's wonderful. Does it? Now, that's it when it comes to flames. Like I said, this is an easy process. You're going to flame your actual equipment themselves, the actual Absolabs and the Root Abyss. The reason I say it that way is in this next process, we're going to make this process bigger, but this is where you're going to start saving your mesos. The next step is your Star Force and potentials. This section will get a bit extensive, so prepare yourself. First, we will be utilizing the transfer hammer, so make sure you understand that method and have done the training quest. We are using the transfer hammer because it is far cheaper to use occult cubes on We are using the transfer hammer because it is far cheaper to use occult cubes on level 120 gear than 160 gear. We will tier up the potential of the level 120 gear to unique. That means you're looking for that purple potential. You're going to want 2 lines of your main stat, be it strength, luck, dexterity, or intelligence. Now, when I say 2 lines, you're generally going to want to have 3 lines of potential on your items. If not, use a stamp to make it 3. The reason for this is when you're rolling, it's a lot easier to get 2 of your main stat percents. If you get 3, you hit the jackpot. Hang on to that item. It's either worth money in the auction house. Excuse me. That item is either worth money in the auction house, or it's going to be worth it to someone you know. Hang on to it. Now, once you have the potential you want on this level 120 gear, and it can be any type as long as it matches the type you're using. So in other words, if you're working on your Absolab gloves, you're going to want a level 120 glove you're working on, okay? It doesn't have to be your class, any class. You're just focusing on the potential line right now. Now, once you have a level 120 gear with the potential you want, it's simply a matter of getting all of the gear in between. So if you're using those gloves and you have level 160 Absolab gloves, you need any gloves that are level 130, 140, and 150. Now, don't stress any of these pieces because they are all fodder. They're all going to disappear and they do not matter. Get junk. You get those boss drops. The only thing to consider is that you can only transfer to the same type of item. Level 120 gloves, 130 gloves, 140 gloves, 150 gloves, 160 gloves. Okay? Now, the gear does not have to be the same class, just the same equipment, but make sure your Abso gear and your Ruta gear is the right class you're using. I have actually put all of my stats into a level 160 Abso gear for my Hunter, just to notice I was putting strength into it. Don't do that. Now, when it's time to actually transfer your good potentials, let's say you have that level 120 glove with 6% strength and 3% strength for a strength-based character. You're going to put those onto your level 160 gloves, right? What you're going to want to do is first Star Force those level 120 gloves with the 2 potential lines you want, or 3 if you got lucky, to level 10. The reason we do 10 stars is it's cheaper to Star Force level 120 gear than it is 160. So you Star Force it to 10 stars, and you're going to transfer your 10 star level 120 gloves to your level 130 gloves. This makes it 9 star. You're going to pay to make it 10 star again, even though the odds are rough, because it's still cheaper than doing it at the top tier, level 160. Make it 10 star 130, transfer to your 140. Make it a 10 star 140, transfer it to 150. 10 star your 150, and you're going to transfer it to your 160. That's the trick. That's how you keep that potential line from your 120 gear, and you move it all the way to your new Abso gear. Now, with flames and this potential on it, you're going to notice a vast difference in your stats. Whew! That was heavy. And I'm not surprised if people have questions. I suggest having a friend or a guildie around to ask questions. I'm always in game. Again, I want boss. That's my name. And that's it. You should now have some badass gear that should cover you around the level 230, 240 range. I'm going to have some more podcasts coming in the future. I plan to do a Meet a Mapler section. I plan to have some gears about, important pre-quests to make sure you do, important Legion members, important Link skills. And the very next episode I'm going to be releasing will be all about familiars. So stay tuned, and thank you so much. Happy mapling!